Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Excalibur Data Systems Roundtable Extended Tech Talk. I'm joined today by Tom Petley from HaloITSM. Tom, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me. Great to be here.
Yeah, it's always great to get together and talk Halo and talk ITSM, all of the fun things that we get to do every day. One of the things we wanted to talk about with our audience out there is to talk about best practice alignment. Most folks out in the market are aware of ITIL. There are other best practice frameworks, COBIT, and other frameworks that are available, and they all, it's all about, hey, a lot of folks have gotten together and they thought about what good running organizations do from a process perspective. But ITIL certainly is the predominant best practice framework that's leveraged within the IT space. And Halo is well aligned with ITIL best practices. You guys have taken a little bit of a different approach than other products might, where they may be a little more heavy into ITIL. You guys have aligned with the core best practices, but offer a lot of flexibility for customers to go the direction that they need to go. Because as we know, ITIL is not a prescriptive framework. You don't have to do this and have to do that. As an organization, you kind of pick and choose what are the best practices that fit your organization. And within those best practices, you may adapt them slightly to suit your organization. So let's talk a little bit about kind of your guys' approach at Halo as you build out as these process areas have been built out within the Halo platform.
Yeah, I think a key to it, as you said at the end there, just a lot of companies adopt ITIL, but they're not always the same. You have to adapt the process quite often because it can be a little bit heavy-handed sometimes, and it can be kind of overkill for some requirements. So the approach we take is we're ITIL aligned out the box. So all your core ITIL processes, we have workflows and kind of areas you can just drop in automatically. So kind of incident management, change management, service requests, all got out the box processes already built into Halo. But we don't say you have to use them. We say that's a starting point. That is kind of where we would recommend starting. But if you need to add additional fields to your forms, if you need to capture extra information, maybe you've got a certain workflow that the customer requires. So maybe there's a certain extra element to it that's not kind of maybe non-standard. We allow that flexibility, and we allow the option to add those extra steps in, or kind of add the extra classifications in that you need to. It's all just within the browser, so it's all kind of just ticking boxes, drag and drop, and all that kind of stuff.
Well, one of the things that I observed in having been in the IT service management space for a couple of decades now is your approach has been a little bit lighter in aligning with the best practices. You've taken kind of the core of the best practices that most people tend to implement. And that's your starting point rather than kind of over engineering a process to be heavily aligned with every element with an ITIL. Let's take change management as a great example, because incident and service requests, most organizations operate in a similar fashion with incident and service request. But when you start looking at change management, every organization is unique. I've implemented hundreds and hundreds of systems. I've never quite done it exactly the same way. Some are very similar, but there's
Yeah.
every organization is a little unique. So rather than having a whole bunch of fields that are like, well, ITIL says you should have all of these fields, you guys have kind of picked the ones that are most commonly used, is what I've seen. Other
Yeah,
solutions that I've worked with, they'll kind of have every field that is within the ITIL framework, and then you end up having to back off of it. You guys have kind of aligned with with what is the most common practices that are leveraged.
I think that's where our experience comes in, really. It's something that we could put every field on there ITIL kind of specifies that you should have. Actually, if 90% of our customers are saying, actually, we don't want this field, we're not going to use that, then we're not going to put that in our best practice out of the box, because it might be best practice according to ITIL, but it's not actually in the real world of how people use it. we obviously have those fields in the background. You can just drop in or create new ones, but we try and make it out of the box, kind of aligned to what most organizations want. That's the approach we take. We so often get people come to us and say, we've kind of done all this customization and configuration in our current system. It's become this unwieldy kind of beast that only someone 10 years ago left knows how it works. So we try and promote the idea of going best practice, kind of using our experience and our knowledge, and Excalibur's knowledge when you're implementing it. It's all just about kind of leveraging that experience, taking that on board, and then you absolutely can configure it to kind of go down different flows, kind of send out different notifications, capture extra information. Absolutely, it's all configuration. Yeah, that's the kind of approach we recommend, really.
Yeah, that's what we've seen in our Halo implementations. We're spending less time undoing things and more time doing minor adjustments to align. I mean, because we look at change management, right? The best practice framework says you have emergency, normal, and standard changes.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what we have out of the box. Now, for some organizations, they may have another kind of change that they put in there. Now Excalibur as consultants, I get on my soapbox and kind of preach. There's reasons that things are done a certain way. There's reasons that they're considered a best practice. But every organization has their particular needs. And the fact that Halo is codeless, it's simple, as you said, to add a new field and drag and drop it right onto the form. Make it required conditionally, based on change moving through a workflow, and it gets to a certain point. This has got to be in here before you can send it for CAV approval, or what have you. You're able to align with the organization's practices. And I think that's something important for folks to know when they're going and doing a selection of a IT service management platform and looking at leveraging these processes. Is a lot of organizations want the tool to do most of the heavy lifting, and the tool will do a lot of the heavy lifting for you, but you have to understand your process. And something I always talk to customers about as we're beginning an implementation is, let's not get stuck on what we did before. Let's look at what we want to do today. We have a system that is extremely capable, has a lot of things tied in, a lot of integration points. As an example, and a lot of our recent interactions with prospective customers, they're blown away by the ability to fully integrate with Office 365, and specifically the Outlook components within Office 365, email and calendars. All of a sudden, you have calendars available within the system, and if you add it to the calendar, it's on your calendar and Outlook, and vice versa. It can go, no matter where you put it in, it's going to show up in both places.
Yep.
You all of a sudden start to have real visibility, and the way you may do, for example, change management and a change calendar could be extremely different now that you have that full integration to Microsoft Office, which would be the most common. Google is out there, of course, but the majority of organizations are running, Microsoft's Office 365, and we have that ability all of a sudden to do some of those visibility things that everybody's dreamed of, or the integration they have fires off an email to the mailbox, and it's native integration. So being able to do some of those things, you have to be willing to take a step back and kind of look at your process and say, how can we leverage the capabilities of the tool to make our process better and more streamlined?
I love the one, just to build on that, is where you can now fire off to Teams channels notifications. So suddenly you're not just limited to the ITSM tool and your Outlook or whatever. You can now actually have these go into a place where you can actually discuss things, and you can actually kind of build an environment you're already kind of in as well. So that's just another kind of point to add on that, which I thought was quite nice.
Well, and to take that further, Tom, as they're doing that Teams chat, that's all tracked within the Halo system. So you have that auditability of what's gone on in, for example, in an incident scenario, what's gone on to help us resolve this incident. You're able to leverage those different tools. And in today's world, as we're all, still working from home or working from home part time, and I've even seen some of the things. Just read a neat article last evening on what's going to happen in offices and polls that organizations have done with their employees who do want to come into the office, but like the ability for that hybrid work environment where they can work from home some, work in the office some, and so leveraging these collaboration tools are things that are part of our lexicon, things that we all do every day now, and to be able to marry that with what we're doing within our IT service management, it really takes that customer experience to a different level,
Mm.
but still gives us that auditability and that control because, why are we all running an IT service management system? We need to track what's happening, and there could be an auditable event that we need to be able to report on. And being able to leverage those different channels, but still have it auditable and searchable within our system takes us to a whole nother level of customer experience.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Well, Tom, thank you for joining me today. It's always exciting to talk about Halo and the way it continues to evolve and be completely innovative and really drive capabilities for customers. We'd love to talk to you, our folks that are watching, about Halo. Feel free to reach out, hit the Excalibur Data Systems website. You can sign up for your free trial of Halo ITSM and reach out to us, and we'd be happy to talk to you about how Halo can make an impact in your organization. Tom, we'll catch you soon.
Brilliant. Thanks, Mike.
All right, take care, everyone.